Welcome to the Doc G Show, a radio show cluster. Without further ado, critics have said he has the face for radio and a voice for silent films. Your host, Ben Doc G Gordon.
And we are on the air. Welcome to the Doc G Show. I'm your host, Doc G. With me, as always, the one, the only, Mikey Maximus, the Furnicus.
Say what?
Charette.
What is up, Doc G? How's it going?
Came in hot there.
Hey. I'm ready.
Jeez.
I'm excited.
Jeez, that was intense. It was more intense than my week, Mike.
Yeah?
Had a relaxed week this week.
Oh, yeah?
So true.
Lovely. I guess I shouldn't say this week. I should say this week from the past show.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're in the middle of the week.
That's true.
So
That is true.
You know, listeners, from last week to this week, I've had a pretty relaxed week. Mike, how was yours?
I've had a great week as well, Doc G. It's been very productive.
Yeah.
Been working on my home garden.
Ooh.
Yes.
Now, is this, I'm guessing this is at like on a patio?
Yeah, it's on my patio. It's not many plants. It's like 7 total plants. But it's been fun kind of like maintaining them. Because it's summertime, they're growing.
Oh, yeah. Spring and summer, that's the best time.
Yeah, it's great.
You gone to Ace Hardware?
Ace Hardware. I don't know if we have those out here, but I like that store.
Yeah, it's the best, Mike.
It's great. There's always an animal around.
Shout out to our local Ace here, Mike. The local Ace that I go to is ran by a lady named Ruby.
Ruby. Oh yeah, that's an Ace Hardware employee name.
She's got one of those. I would estimate she's in her late 50s, early 60s, and she's got one of those tattoos on her forearm that looks like she got it in 1943, even though she wasn't alive.
And
it's just blurred into just a blue-black blob, and I'm like,
yeah,
nice. Yeah.
Yep. She used to party.
I came in one day, and Ruby got so excited when I asked her if they had any items for a clogged drain. My God, she got excited. She had all of these things, and then she told me about a social media influencer that she follows that's all about that, and I was like, all right, Ruby, cool. And like you said, Mike, there's a shop cat there, too.
Oh, yeah. Ace
Shop
Hardware.
cat, usually sleeping in the back, just like, whatever. And I walk by it, I pet it, it's like, hey, don't interrupt my snooze, you turd. Stop it. Like, it just, it's an awesome place, Mike. Awesome.
Yeah, it is. It is an awesome place.
If you need some soil, I say go to Ace Hardware, even if it's an 800-mile drive from Las Vegas.
Worth it.
I don't know where they are. I don't have a clue. But, Mike, I'm glad you're enjoying your garden. I would recommend looking at a walking jade. Do you have a walking jade?
No, what is that?
It's a jade plant. It's a succulent.
Oh, okay.
And they're very hardy. And I adopted one while I was in college. It's still alive. My parents have it. My parents have all of my garden now. When I moved out after I graduated graduate school, somewhere in the mix, I just gave them all of my plants, and I never picked them back up. and my mom has kept them alive. So shout out to Mom.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's kept them alive. But the walking jade, it's just a really cool plant, and I think it would be.
It looks like a little bonsai tree, but bigger leaves in a weird way.
Yeah. Well, succulent leaves. They're big.
Succulent leaves.
They're fat leaves. They got juice in them there. So
yeah,
it'd be really good for the desert air, I think. And it's a fun one to grow. You know, it's a very easy one to grow.
Okay, cool. That's what I need. That's really what I need.
Oh yeah. Well,
it's
Mike,
gotta be easy.
I took it easy. I took it easy this week. You know, I didn't do too much, but when I don't do too much, I do get to focus a little bit on dinner. And I had a pretty good dinner the other night.
Yeah, what'd you make?
Well, I made Monterey Jack smothered chicken.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. It was really nice except for one negative detail. And I'm going to give you the negative detail. So, I was excited about my Monterey Jack smothered chicken. This is an oven dish, Mike, of course. You get it prepared. Okay. You throw all the ingredients on top of the chicken, and then you just let it bake, you know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I was getting everything together, you know, making a night of it. Mm-hmm. I put my Topo Chico in the fridge. This is not Topo Chico. Listeners, I'm holding up a fever tree. But it was a Topo Chico that night.
Looks like one.
I got my supplements out, put them on the table, get things ready. I got the table set. I got my silverware out. You know, it was good. I had some light 70s going on in the background. I was grooving. It was nice. Got my chicken ready, put the garlic in there, put the onions in there, mushrooms, cheese on the top, put it in the pan. It was ready to go. Yeah. Now, I opened up the oven, and as I opened up the oven, I hear something hit the bottom of the oven.
Yeah,
and I was like, what was that? And it had a little bit of weight to it. And I was like, was that a mushroom? I was like, was it something grosser? Was it like a bug from my townhouse that fell in there? What happened? Ew. But I didn't see anything. I looked down, nothing was there. So I was like, all right, close up shop, let's get it. About 10 minutes later, I'm over on the couch waiting for this lovely treat to finish cooking, and all of a sudden I get a very vulgar smell. It is pungent. It smells very fish-like.
Word.
And so I go over to the oven, open it up, and a giant plume of fish smoke hits me in the face.
Ugh.
And I was like, what the... I'm
fish
cooking
smoke.
Chicken. What is this? When I initially opened the oven, Mike, I somehow knocked in one of my fish oil pills from the counter.
Ah.
I have no idea how I did this, but I did it. And there was a fish oil pill that had exploded under the heat, just sizzling on the bottom of the oven. And it smelled horrible.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, anyone concerned that they may do this in the future, don't worry. You have to be very stupid to do this.
That's a fact.
I don't know how I pulled this off. Second, positive, it burns off pretty quick. There was only a minor tinge of fish oil the next day. And now it's definitely gone. It's definitely gone.
That's good.
But I did think about this, Mike. I'm pretty excited because I did stumble upon a pretty great way to prank somebody you really want to get back at. Like if you got a friend that's been a turd and you just want to put them in their place, go to CVS, buy a bottle of fish oil pills, throw them all in the bottom of their oven, and crank it up to 400 and run on out. That would be a fantastic... They get it. What the... What happened in our house? Yeah. Awesome. Don't worry, listeners. I would never do that to you guys.
Nope.
As long as you're not being turds. If you're being turds,
yeah,
all bets are off the table.
Doc,
Mike, what were you going to say?
Did the food taste like it at all?
No.
Like, was there, no? Okay.
No hint of fish oil. It was still a lovely Monterey Jack chicken.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Mike, are you ready to fire up this fish oil pill in an oven type of show?
Let's fire up the show, Doc G.
All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and lift off.
Mike, we have a fantastic show today. We have none other than Chris Bullinger coming on the show. He has a new album coming out in August called Waiting to Be Seen.
Oh.
Can't wait to talk to him. But first, we need to start where we start.
Birthday suit.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Mike, you are currently 30 for 48. 30 for 48. Not bad. You know? Okay. I mean, you can be at 60%. I don't think you're going to help yourself out today, though. There's some tough ones. This first one is a football player, and he's not the most well-known football player.
Perfect.
But He did a podcast with Sam Morril, and he's still doing it by himself. Does that help any?
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you know? Do you know now? Can you think of it?
Hold
on. I'll give you the clues while you're thinking about it. Born in Redwood City, California, May 22nd, 1986. Our birthday suit wearer played baseball and football growing up. He loved football. He led his high school team as quarterback to a 13-0 record. Despite the stellar high school career, he was barely recruited for college. He first went to College of San Mateo, but then transferred to Kent State University. After college, he wasn't invited to the Combine, but he was selected 232nd overall in 2009 by the New England Patriots. Instead of playing quarterback, they had him play receiver. He ended up being a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl 53. He's had a podcast for the last 3 years called Games with Names. Started with Sam Morril. Now he's doing it by himself. And I got to say, doing a good job. He is holding his own there. Real good job. Got any ideas?
Doc G, I know we've talked about his show before, but no.
Yeah, I'll give you the initials just in case. J.E.
Okay.
No.
No.
Julian Edelman. Yes.
Julian Edelman.
Yeah, man. First of all, just one of those guys you can't keep down, right? Doesn't get recruited for college. That doesn't stop him. Does amazing in college. They don't really recruit him for the NFL. That doesn't stop him.
Nope.
The Patriots barely draft him, and then he becomes a starter and a Super Bowl MVP. And then,
nice.
He starts this podcast, and they're like, you need somebody funny with you. We're going to get this professional comedian. Professional comedian goes, they don't need to get anybody else. He does it himself, and he does an awesome job. So, hats off to Julian. Doing a fantastic job. Turning 38, Mike. 38.
38.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Julian. Happy birthday. Mike, are you ready to rip some headlines?
Let's rip some headlines, Doc G.
It's now time for Rip from the Headlines.
Mike, CNN, they're helping us keep up with the young folks.
Yeah.
We got an article on the young folks.
Sweet.
Have you heard of Borg drinking?
Borg drinking.
Yeah.
No.
It's hot out in these streets, Mike.
Yeah?
Borg is an acronym for Blackout Rage Gallon.
Blackout Rage Gallon.
Yes. It's a drink which you put in a gallon container, thus Blackout Rage Gallon. And it's usually a cheap liquor like vodka, some water, and a flavor enhancer.
Okay.
Getting straight to the point of just getting drunk, right?
Yeah.
Now, the old Borg is most typically used at day parties, as they call them in the streets, darties.
Darties.
Yes, day parties, darties.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Mike, this may shock you, but CNN says the drinks are intended to get you extremely drunk. This is crazy. Oh, come on. Crazy. And brace yourself even more, Mike. They say kids see other kids doing it and want to try it themselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So,
Shocking.
let me recap. Teenagers are drinking alcohol to get drunk, and they're using peer pressure to get other teenagers to do it. My God!
Yeah. This is who we're leaving our world to, Doc G.
And
I've
never heard of this trend before.
This is the future.
This is crazy. Mike, they talked to an 18-year-old who didn't want to be named, not too surprising. She said one of the reasons Borgs are so popular is you have to name your Borg. And you get creative by writing the name on it with a Sharpie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to throw this out there, Mike. I was thinking about this. If this trend were going on when I was in high school, I would have gone to a party with one of two options, and I would 100% have done this, and it most likely would be the second option. I would have brought a gallon jug and put water in it and labeled it Waterborg and just walked around with it. Or I would have bought a gallon jug of whole milk and wrote Horse Semen Borg on the side of it and walked around with it. Definitely would have done one of those two things. But Mike, I checked out the analytics before coming on the show today, and 9.6% of our listening audience is 18 to 24.
That's right.
So let me talk to that 9.6 for a second about Borgs. Gang, if you think you need to do a Borg to make yourself cool, let me tell you, that you're not cool right there. If you think you need to do that, you're not cool.
Nope.
Because you don't need to do it.
Nope.
Let me tell you what is cool. Walking up to that party with a Diet 7-Up in your hand.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody asks you, hey, what's in the 7-Up bottle? And you say, Diet 7-Up, you stupid son of a... That's what you say. Well, you don't have to be that aggressive. Especially if you don't want to get kicked at the party. I'm just saying the concept of cool is in you, man.
Yeah, it is.
Leave the drinking for the 40 and up crowd who are well aware that they have made many horrible decisions in their life and they're trying to forget them. All right? That's a fact. You don't need to do it yet. There is no reason for you to drink. That was my PSA for under 25 group, Mike.
Thank you.
Shout out to you, listeners. Shout out.
Doc G, cut to 20 years and you like go to the grocery store and there's like different types of Borgs. So it's like just gallon containers.
Just all through the liquor aisle, just a bunch of Borgs. Oh, I'm going to go with the old Captain Borgen here. Nice. There it is.
Captain Borgen.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I did not think of that just now. That was in the article, Mike. That was in the article.
Funny, though. That's hilarious.
A good thinker, some 17-year-old. Shout out to you that came up with that. Mike, the Academy of Country Music Awards was last week. Fans were pretty excited. Post Malone and Reba McEntire did a surprise duet of Ramblin' Man at the award show to honor late, great Dickie Betts of the Allman Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw it.
Nice.
I saw it, and I gotta say, face tattoos and plastic surgery. It's amazing how those two things can make a 70-year-old look younger than a 28-year-old. It's... ridiculous. Because I gotta say, Reba looks good. She looks good. Posty was there. Mike, Tony Weiss-Correa. Do you know Tony?
No, I don't think so.
Tony is a renowned researcher of neurology at Stanford.
Oh.
He looks a lot at aging.
Okay.
And he's recently received a lot of media attention there for research that analyzed proteins in blood plasma at different ages through our lifespan. And he was quoted in the BBC as saying, "We can do a blood test and learn what you will die from."
Word.
Tony, can you do anything about the dying part? Because otherwise, I'm not too interested.
What can I live from?
Yeah. What he just said, that's like having a bodyguard who's like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, that guy's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Are you going to do anything about it? No. I just wanted you to know, that guy. He's going to murder you. Yeah. Come on, does nothing for me, Tony. Give me how I'm going to get rid of this. That's the issue. Mike, Benny Blanco. Yeah.
This guy. He just came out of nowhere for me.
Back in the news. Yeah. He's back he went on the Howard Stern.
Blanco.
Went on the Howard Stern show the other day. And not sure why he decided to go on there and not our show, but we'll parse that out later. That's fine. Girl, come on. Benny was on the show, and he talked a lot about, not too surprisingly, his girlfriend, Selena Gomez. And he said for Valentine's Day, he set up this whole romantic date for her to watch just a simple movie. He said she's a simple gal, so all he did was he rented out a movie theater. He got all her favorite foods, fried pickles, Taco Bell, hot Cheetos, and movie nachos, and they watched a movie together.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It did make me think, though, Mike, and I mean this with the utmost respect to Selena. How is she a beautiful mix of cultures, and yet her food choices are 100% white trash? She should see a gastroenterologist just because of that meal. That is yikes. Yeah. I mean, let me review that real quick. Fried pickles, Taco Bell, hot Cheetos, and movie nachos.
That sounds amazing.
Oh, it sounds awesome. But Mike, I'm white trash. That's I am ready to take that on. I don't know. Maybe she's trained her whole life. I don't know. But yikes. I heard that. I was like, somebody check her intestines.
Wonder what they got from Taco Bell.
I bet it was something weak. No offense to her, but I bet you it was like a Crunch Wrap. I was going to say it, Mike. I was going to say they weren't going deep into the menu, you know.
Not like us, Ducky. Not like us.
Not celebrating the whole catalog. Mike, this was a huge story over the weekend. University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth. They had their graduation over the weekend, and Robert Hell Jr. was their commencement speaker. And Robert Hell Jr. is the founder and CEO of Granite Telecommunications. And he told the 1,200 graduates that each graduate who crossed the stage would receive one $500 envelope to keep as a gift. Then they would receive a second $500 envelope to be given to someone in need or charity or a cause close to them. That's pretty cool, Mike.
Yeah.
Because he definitely did not have to do that, you know?
No, he didn't.
He didn't have to do that. But I will say it does take the coolness down a tad when you realize he's worth $5.4 billion. $5.4 billion. So, do the math real quick, Mike. He gave out $1.2 million to these graduates. That's literally 0.02% of his total wealth. Mike, not an exaggeration. That is an equivalent to me giving each one of these graduates between a nickel and a dime. Which, UMass at Dartmouth, if you want to invite me to your next commencement speech, I will happily give every graduate a nickel and a nickel to give to charity.
Yes.
I'll do it. I will do it. You have Scout's honor, whatever the is, right? Also, the one other thing about this, Mike, the tuition of that college is $34,519 a year. So I would say some of those students are about $140,000 in the hole, plus interest. So $1,000 is sort of like a Band-Aid for a cancer patient. But, again, not Robert's fault. I'm just pointing things out, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you to Robert for that. I'm sure that it's better than nothing. Just saying. Just saying. Mike, enjoytravel.com. Enjoytravel.com just ranked the top 50 sexiest accents in America. Any guesses what would number one be?
Accents in America? Sexiest accents in America?
Yep.
I would say a British accent.
Has to be an American accent, a
Has
dialect.
to be an American.
Yep.
My first guess would be like a Texas accent.
Yeah, nailed it, Mike.
Yeah?
Nice.
Okay.
Number one was Texas.
Yeah.
Number two, Boston.
Boston.
What?
I get it.
No.
I get the Boston.
Come on. No. Texas, I get. Sure, I can get behind that, Mike. I mean, Matthew McConaughey, Party at the Moon Tower. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Boston? Anybody listening to a Bill Burr stand up and being like, he's hilarious and sexy as like, no, come on. Boston. But not to go back to our drinking PSA, Mike, but come on. The accent's sexy. Who makes it sexy? You know?
True.
If you got a confident, sexy lady with a Boston accent, it's a sexy accent. Mm-hmm. If you got some harpy Karen with a Boston accent, it's a horrible nails on the chalkboard accent. Like, just depends, man. It depends.
Yeah, for sure.
Mike, Jelly Roll. You know Jelly?
Yeah. Country singer?
Yeah, he's been doing some things. He was on the Odyssey podcast, and he said, quote, "Don't judge me for this, y'all. I promise I grew up very humble, but I only wear socks once."
Wait, what?
I'm sorry. I hope I didn't let anybody down with that, but when you're fat, you can't have stinky feet too. So you got to have fresh socks. Valid point, Mike.
Yeah.
But I'll throw a suggestion out. You could wash them.
Mm-hmm. You could.
It's a pretty efficient way of keeping stink out and not buying 365 pairs of socks a year. Gonna say, wash them. Just try it. Mike, you know old Sir Richard Branson?
Oh, yeah. Virgin Galactic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like 400 companies in one. He's currently worth $2.6 billion, which actually dropped from $3 billion last year, Mike. Lost $0.4 billion. Several outlets like Fortune and CNBC, they had this story. And in the story, they let folks know that Branson doesn't like being called a billionaire and thinks it's very sad when people use wealth to gauge success.
Word.
I'm going to point out to Richard, nobody called you successful.
Nope.
They just called you a billionaire. And they call you that because it's a defining characteristic. It makes you unique.
Yes.
They don't call people thousandaires because there's a billion of us poor here. So there's no reason to do it. Anyways, Mike,
that sounds nice.
You want to hear you want to hear about an absolute champion?
Yes, of course. Love hearing about champions.
This is Miss Lillian Orlick.
Sweet.
Miss Lillian Orlick. She's known as Miss O. She was known as Miss O to her students over the last 7 decades in Prince William County, Virginia. Miss O started teaching for Prince William County schools in 1951.
Wow.
Jeez.
1951. She taught for 67 years until 2018.
Wow.
Yeah. When the superintendent of the schools talked about her, she said Miss O was a true Prince William County legend. She arrived early every day, often coming to school at 3 a.m.
3 a.m.?
3 a.m.
Get out of here.
She worked through the summers, and for years she brought food for the staff every Monday. 3 a.m., Mike.
3 a.m.
When did she go to sleep? Right after school let out? You got to hit the sack here. Michael Simpson said, quote, "She was the best teacher I ever had," end quote.
So true.
They didn't give me any more details on Michael Simpson, like when he graduated or anything, but since how long Miss O taught, I'm guessing Michael could be anywhere between 12 and 120. I don't know. One Prince William County School Board member said her compassion and unwavering commitment to selfless service has profoundly impacted countless generations, Mike.
Yeah.
Sadly, Miss O passed away in March at the age of 95. 95. But, Mike, she had one more thing to give Prince William County schools. In her will, she left the school systems $1 million.
What?
Yeah. She didn't have any kids. She didn't have a husband.
That explains it.
And she gave them $1 million, Mike.
Wow.
Miss O is like the effing giving tree. She just keeps doing it, man. Rest in peace to Miss O, man.
Yeah, rest in peace, Miss O. Thank you.
I mean, all
Thank
respect.
you for your service.
Yeah, for being just an amazing, amazing person. Shout out to Mrs. O. Mike, I've got horrendous news after that.
Oh no.
Yeah, I've got really bad news. Red Lobster is filing for bankruptcy.
Oh my gosh, I saw that. Yeah. What's going on?
I mean, where the people supposed to get Cheddar Bay biscuits?
Yeah.
And whatever else they serve at Red Lobster. I don't know, but the biscuits are awesome.
Actually.
It's biscuits and that's it. That's 15 biscuits and that's your meal.
Yep, pretty much.
But now nothing, Mike. Now nothing. Red Lobster, where are we going to go for subpar lobster and biscuits? Oh, sad. Mike, real quick, I'm going to send you a picture via text message. But don't look at it yet.
Okay.
I'll give you the signal when to look at it here.
Word.
I want this in real time. See if I'm on to something here. I think I'm on to something with this. Okay. I have sent the text message. Now, last year on the show, we had Niko Moon on the show, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Niko Moon.
Just a lovely dude.
Oh, yeah.
One of the
Great.
best. Really, really nice guy. Talked to us out in his barn.
Inspirational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching ESPN last night, and I think I may have found his long-lost sister. Kelsey Plum. Look at the two of them, Mike. I put
Kelsey
two pictures.
Plum. Wow. I know she plays on the Aces.
Aces. Look at that picture.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, they do look a lot alike.
Do they not? I mean, come on. They could be related.
Wow. Yeah.
They could be related. I'm just saying. I mean, no offense to. I mean, I don't know if that's offensive to
Hilarious.
to
You got
Kelsey.
the same angle. You got the same laugh.
Yeah.
Looks exactly. Oh, that's so funny.
Like, I don't know if that's offensive to either of them. I think they're both
No
good-looking
way.
people. That's
Yeah,
not offensive.
for sure.
You know? Anyways, Mike, we are going to take a break, and we will be right back. We are going to hear from the fantastic Chris Bullinger right here on the Doc G Show. And we are back here on the Doc G Show, Spinnaker Radio, WSKRLP 95.5 FM in Jacksonville, Florida. Mike, what do the listeners need to do?
Well, Doc G, if the listeners feel like the show is a positive way to if the listeners feel like the show is a positive way to waste their time, they should please subscribe on Apple Podcast or Spotify or YouTube, or hey, we're on SoundCloud. Wherever you get your podcasts, please subscribe. It is a cost-effective way to support the show. And if the listeners are feeling extra generous, please leave us a 5-star review and tell a friend about the show.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes, sir. Mike, we've got new listeners all over, and I want to thank them. Thank you for listening to the show. We appreciate it. We need to appreciate the 5-star listeners. We got a new one. We got a new one today.
Heyo.
Here we go.
Shoutouts.
Shout out to Jacksonville, Florida, Columbia, South Carolina, Radford, Virginia, Gainesville, Florida, Frankfurt, Germany, Anoka, Minnesota, Ashburn, Virginia, Puricot, Brazil, San Diego, California, Dublin, Ireland, Boardman, Oregon, Genoa, Italy, Richards, Texas, Barcelona, Spain, Winfield, West Virginia, Biloxi, Mississippi, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Peoria, Illinois, Katy, Texas, Toms River, New Jersey, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Asheville, North Carolina, Los Angeles, California, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Athens, Georgia, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Chicago, Illinois, Boynton, Virginia, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Columbus, Ohio. There we go.
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, man. I told them, you get in that top 25 again, and you will be on there. And they came through with a ton of listens.
Thank you, Columbus.
Shout out to Columbus. Getting it done.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mike, we got some good 4-star listeners. First off, shout out to Waycross, Georgia. Waycross. Shout out to Orlando, Florida.
O-Town.
Yeah. Shout out to Pooler, Georgia. Shout out to Keystone Heights, Florida. St. Simon's Island, Georgia. Got the Southeast getting it, getting in the listens. The Bronx, New York. There we go. Bronx getting it. Charlotte, North Carolina, Queen City. Madison, Wisconsin. Shout out to you guys. Council Bluffs, Iowa. Sao Paulo, Brazil. Always with the Brazil listen.
Always.
Shout out to you guys. Posadas, Argentina. Shout out to you guys. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Shout out to you guys.
Philly.
Reno, Nevada. Shout out to you guys.
Reno.
And San Antonio, Texas. There we go. There we go. Now, Mike, got to pull out a little segment we do every now and then, known as Previously on the Doc G Show.
Yes.
Previously on the Doc G Show.
I've got a little update. Got a couple updates here from last show and then some shows even further in the past. So last show I got corrected by a couple of folks listening. They had to correct me on a couple of things. So I just want to throw those out there. Last week we talked to Kaleo Wassman. Shout out to Kaleo. Earlier in the show, Mike, I said that he was like 15 years older than me. I was like 10, 15 years older. I made Kaleo older than he really is. He's really only 8 years older than me.
Oh, okay.
I made him unnecessarily old when he's a super young guy like ourselves. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Kaleo. My bad. Also, hope that guy's doing better. He just had surgery, Mike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had surgery for surfer's ear.
Surfer's ear.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's bone growth in your ear because of the wind and water from getting that wind and water from surfing.
Oh,
like
wow.
repeated wind and water, basically irritation in the ear canal. It builds up bone growth as a result. And like
Really?
his ear hole, literally his ear canal, was like 95% occluded. And they had to go in there and cut all that bone out.
Oh, I wonder what it was like when he first took the earplugs out and he could hear.
Oh,
95% better?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, not 95% better. Because, like, you're still going to get a good amount in that 5%.
for
but
sure.
still, he had to hear way, way better.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he can. I don't know if he's like been able to actually do that yet. Because, like, I mean, the surgery was just like a day after we talked to him.
Oh,
so
okay,
like,
yeah.
I don't
Probably
even
takes
know
a
if
little
like they've unpacked it yet or anything. You know.
Yeah.
But anyways, shout out to Kaleo.
Yeah.
Hope you're doing better. Number 2 on the list, Mike. We talked about Gene Smart Show hacks. I should have realized in the name, I said the lead character, Deborah Vance, was a musician. She's actually supposed to be an old comedian.
Yeah, comedian.
Hacks, of course.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got corrected on that. They were like, it's comedian, you dumb.
Oh, there's some hacky musicians, though.
There are. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know, she's somebody famous. That's what I thought. But, you know, now that I know it's comedian, Mike, maybe a little something you should watch and be like, oh, that's what you do when you're an old hacky comedian.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
I've heard of the show.
Yeah. Apparently, it's really good.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Also, we talked about the portals, Mike. The New York to Dublin portal.
Yeah, I saw some pictures after the show. Pretty funny.
And like we said, they had to
Not
close
what I
it.
imagined for some reason.
Yeah. Well, they had to close it down because of the shenanigans.
Uh-huh.
Well, they reopened it, but now there's only business hours. So it's open from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. in New York.
Gotcha.
That's when it's open. And if somebody holds a phone up to the lens of the camera and it obstructs the lens, both screens will blur until the object is removed. Yeah. So, you know, trying to decrease shenanigans, Mike. There we go. Lastly, Mike, this was just a side note, but I was watching a movie there. I was watching Bleed for This. You ever watch Bleed for This?
No.
It's a movie that has Miles Teller. You know Miles? Miles is a great actor. I like Miles a lot.
What's he in?
He's in the most recent Top Gun. He's supposed to be Goose's son in the Top Gun movie, Maverick. And he's in the remake of Footloose as well. I enjoy Miles. Anywho, Miles in that movie, it's a movie about the real life boxer Vinny Pacienza, and are now known as Vinny Paz. Yeah, it's about him and how Vinny basically gets in a car wreck and breaks his neck, and then comes back and still wins a world championship. It wasn't that bad of a movie. But the reason that I bring it up, I was watching it. Guess who's in the movie? Sully Erna from Godsmack.
Ah, that's awesome.
Say what?
Yeah, he has a really teeny part. He literally says like 2 words as a blackjack dealer. But like I was watching it, I was like, wait a second. I know that blackjack dealer. There's no way. I was like, there's no way I am mishearing that voice. I know who that is. And I looked it up. Yeah. And then I felt a little bad after that because I was like, what am I not? I'm not doing my job researching? I didn't know that before I went into the interview with Sully.
Yeah, he was on the show, listeners, for those of you who didn't know.
Yeah, if you want to go back. February 21st, he was on the show.
Great episode. Great interview.
Good times. But Mike, speaking of good interviews, we are going to take a break. We are going to be right back with none other than Chris Bullinger here on the Doc G Show. Welcome back to the show, everybody. We are very happy to be welcoming a singer-songwriter, Mr. Chris Bullinger, who has his new album, Waiting to Be Seen, coming out August 16th. Chris, how's it going?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing good. So are you in Nashville now?
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee right now, yep.
Nice. Now, how long have you been living in Nashville?
Oh, shoot, going on 20 years at this point. I was back here before it became, it's a small city now. It used to be kind of a big town. So it's a little bit of a change, but it's all good. Yeah.
It's getting a little bananas. Getting a little bananas down there. I got a lot of friends in Nashville, and every time I come, it's sort of a different world every single time. I'm like, man, everything's changed. Wow. Okay. Jeez. It's
definitely booming.
Yeah, for sure. Well, now I've always seen in your biographies there online and whatnot that you grew up in the Midwest. Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, I say Midwest because we bounced around a lot. My dad was a traveling salesman, so born in South Dakota and then lived mostly in Missouri, Illinois, but not in the same cow towns. We bounced around a little.
Yeah. So you got a little here, got a little there. You've got a twin brother, Nick, and I was wondering, growing up, did you pull the classic twin stuff? Did you go to each other's classes and things like that?
Well, we weren't in small enough schools, so we were always in the same class. So that was kind of hard to pull that stunt. I will say some of our assignments and homeworks might have not been done twice, so it might have only happened once. Yeah.
Now, I mean, obviously, music plays a huge role in your life. Is it a big role in your brother's life? Does he love music as much as you?
He doesn't play it as much. He's actually a better musician than I am. We both used to play piano, then I played violin, he played cello, and then I played guitar and he played bass. He's actually a better musician than I am, which may not take much, but he definitely is. Really, my father is the one who probably got us into it. He used to play like old-timey folk songs on the electric organ, Turkey in the Straw, old-timey stuff. And so that was really, we used to sit around and listen to him, but we didn't have a big family that sat around on the porch and all played together. It's really just really listening to our dad play, I think.
Man, that's a unique combo though. The electric organ for I mean, that's not usually the go-to for the folk tunes.
No, that's not. I guess when when he was in college, he was playing things more like 96 Tears, but for the little guys, he played the old timey stuff. I guess.
Well, now almost every write-up and interview I've seen of yours, you talk about how you were a poet. Yeah, a poet is always listed before singer-songwriter. Where did poetry start? How'd you get started in poetry?
I've been writing poetry as long as I can remember, and at some point in time, as I started doing more music, I thought the two went together well, and they do. But a poem is not a song, and a song is not a poem. I figured that out through trial and error, and really tried to take some of the poems and make them into songs. And sometimes that works, and sometimes it really is a pretty big mess.
Yeah.
But the poetry I've been writing for quite some time. And it hasn't even gone in fits and starts. My poetry I've never really put out there. I've got volumes and volumes of it just laying around. And like the songs, I mostly do it just to get it out of my head.
Yeah.
But with the music, I decided to possibly get it into your head also. The poetry, I haven't taken that next step yet.
You ever thought about doing it as far as the poetry, releasing it?
I have thought about it. The venues for poetry are pretty limited, as in some regards music was for years too.
Yeah.
Right now, there's it's kind of the flip flop in music of what it used to be tough, high barriers to entry. But then once you were out there, you had a decent shot because you were being promoted by one of the handful of labels. Now it's just the opposite. Anyone can record a song. And get it on the internet,
there.
right?
Yeah. It's there's definitely a hurt. I remember we were actually talking about. I forget who it was. There was a famous actress, and she had started dating a poet, and in the story about them dating, the poet was amazed that she had never heard of him before. And like that was my response to the story. I was like, I didn't know there were a lot of famous poets out there currently. I feel like that's a lot harder to get known these days. Oh yeah, that guy. I've got at least 40 favorite current poets right now. Like it's a lot harder to get into that venue and known.
It is. I think the famous ones are all dead, right? So
exactly. What now?
It's tough.
You how long, like you said, as long as you can remember, so like elementary school you were writing poems?
Yeah, probably started with like a haiku in kindergarten or something like this, right? Yeah. And then just really kept writing since then in journals. And I still actually so I started out handwriting poems, and now even with my music still, I usually handwrite initially rather than computer. It's I don't know if it's a habit or it's just what I'm most comfortable with, because I did start out writing poetry in journals.
Therapeutic, something like a rock garden sort of deal.
It is kind of like a rock garden. So probably a little more psychosis going on in there, but like a rock garden. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now you like you mentioned, you had lessons, piano, violin. Were those mandated lessons by like your parents? Were they like, you got to get into music here, choose this?
They weren't mandated. They were encouraged. The piano, and then the violin. I wanted to play the fiddle, and someone handed me this and said, "Well, this is the same thing." And believe it or not, I didn't really find it to be what I thought it was going to be, because it didn't sound like a fiddle to me. And that had to do, one, I couldn't play it very well, and two, obviously different songs, different style.
That sounds like me and the guitar. When I got a guitar, I wanted a guitar. I got it, and I was like, "Hey, this doesn't sound like what I hear on the Guns N' Roses album. Why is that?" And they were like, "Well, you're bad." And I was like, "No, that's okay. Well, I'm not gonna keep playing this then. My tenacity did not come through for sure." Well, now, where did lessons start, and when did you decide, let's take a stab at merging these two?
Yeah, the lessons really started on the piano back in elementary school or something, and then violin was middle school, high school, and then sometime in high school is when I switched to guitar. I only had half a dozen lessons on guitar, mostly self-taught, and I strum and finger pick, sort of a folky style. And I found that one that I wouldn't say I'm the greatest guitarist on the planet by any stretch, but one thing I find that helps me better is playing the guitar. Helps me play the guitar better. It's kind of a funny thing like that. So, to your point, the tenacity, I guess, right now.
Well, now ultimately, I heard in one interview you said it was Jack Nicholson movie that got you to switch as far as you know what, I should probably put this poetry to music. Do you remember which movie it was?
This is one of the old ones where he started, I think, maybe producing a couple on his own, old westerns, and like some of the old Clint Eastwood ones. There's not a ton of dialogue. I mean, these are kind of sparse, kind of picking up the feel of the old West. And there's a point where he delivers in his I don't know what you want to call it, smart alecky cadence. Someone's saying something to him, and he says, "Well, why don't you put a tune to it?" And, it kind of struck me at that moment to me, well, why don't I put a tune to it? And that's what I took away from that personally.
Nice.
And that was really, and it's a little thing like that, but that's kind of what poetry and music, and I think a lot of art and creativity is connecting something that seems like it may be unrelated to something else. I don't think there's a whole lot of original things that necessarily happen, but by connecting things in different ways, it becomes a new product.
Yeah. I've talked about it a lot on the show with different artists, but the idea a lot of times of artists trying to sort of emulate something they see and it not actually coming out like they think it should be. And that actually makes it unique. That makes it new, because if they actually had it the way they wanted it to be, it would be sort of a replica copy of something that's already out there. So you get this mutation that comes out that's different.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I have, from my perspective, I got a couple of mutations that work for my music. One is that I'm not that classically trained as far as going to music school or anything like this. I haven't typically played out with bands that often because I'm pretty busy with my other career, or have been for quite some time now.
Yeah.
So when I write, it's not with a construct that always relates to other musicians. So when we get in the studio, sometimes the songs take on a new mutation, like you're saying. It's that part is just as creative and exciting to me as when I originally write the song in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, now when you heard that Jack Nicholson movie, you sort of had that idea. Was that where you started picking up the guitar, or had you already picked up the guitar before that?
Yes, I had dabbled on the guitar, but never to write my own song. I really hadn't said, well, I could take the poetry or the concept of writing and put my own words to these tunes. I really spent my time on the guitar playing, other songs at that point.
I'm guessing those first attempts were fairly rough.
Pretty rough, especially as I mentioned earlier. As I tried to just take literally poems I'd already written and said, well, that could make a good song, but that seldom works. I mean, it can. There's cases of people seeing lyric sheets lying around or poems lying around and trying to turn it into a song, and those are out there. They may not have the catchy hook in them, which I don't really write for the hooks anyways, but those do exist, but they're really two different efforts. And I learned that through trial and error, mostly error.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I was gonna ask as far as your sort of writing ability, because like I know there's a lot. I love the Eagles. Always been a huge fan. Longtime listeners of the show know, they're like, hey, he's talking about the Eagles again. Yes, I am talking about the Eagles again. But, in the Eagles, that was the thing was, Don Henley was sort of the poetry guy. And then Glenn Frey was the phrase guy. he was always the guy that came up with like that hook that like, you know, like the lion eyes. He was the one that said lion eyes, witchy woman. He like, and are you one of those that like you hear a phrase and you're like, I gotta take that for later? Are you more of like a concept guy where you're like, I want to write a song relating to this, I'm going to work through that concept?
It's closer to the latter. I usually write from top to bottom. I don't start with the hook, which a number of writers do, and it's probably, I would think, a more common approach in some regards. But I usually write top to bottom. That doesn't mean that I won't go back and make some changes. That's one thing I also learned, is that being a conceptual writer doesn't mean you just write it down once, and if you go back and touch it, you screwed up. It's actually part of the process, because if you write it from top to bottom, the odds of you having that finished product on your first go round is not high. And it's not embarrassing or means you did it wrong. It means that was a good start to the process, but you need to continue with it.
Yeah. I mean, we've had some, great musicians on the show, great songwriters on the show. I mean, recently Rodney Crowell on the show, and Rodney's been making songs since the 70s or late 60s, and that's what I asked him. I was like, does it ever stop a song's process? Do you ever stop and say, nope, I'm not touching it anymore? And he said, no, I'm always gonna, like, I'll go back to songs that I've wrote 45 years ago, and I'll still want to change them. There'll still be something that I'm like, well, I can do this differently. I can put this in, tweak this differently. And I was like, is it always right? He's like, no, there's a lot of times that I do something completely wrong and then go back and say, no, I need to change it back to what it was before.
Yep, that's I saw him at Americana Fest here in Nashville just last year. He was phenomenal, and to that concept, I'm a pretty huge Bob Dylan fan. So as far as reinventing yourself, or within that, reinventing your songs over and over again, if anyone who goes see him live over any period of time will notice that the songs are constantly taking on a new life. I don't know if it's because he's just bored with them, or he found a new way to enhance them.
Yeah. Well, I hear you bring up Dylan a lot. Obviously, I mean, when you say songwriters, there's not too many that people would put above Dylan. Townes Van Sant, Earl actually did put him above Dylan in a famous New York Times article. Aside from those two artists, who else were you listening to from the beginning? Were those two from the beginning? Were you always inspired by those two?
Actually, when I was younger, I listened to more old time country, Willie Merle. So that was really my earlier influences, and probably still hear quite a bit. People ask me to describe my music, and I say, well, it's classic country and classic rock combined, which I guess is Americana these days. But yeah, I really started listening to the country more early on, and really didn't get into the folk or the rock songwriters till a little bit after.
Do you ever go into some of the other the other Texas artists there aside from Townes?
I mean, Clark, obviously, and then some of the newer guys. So I guess they're older to some people, like McMurtry, Ray Wiley Hubbard, those guys.
Yeah. Well, now, when did you get into the sort of Americana? Was that post college, during college, somewhere in that ballpark?
Yeah, it was probably post college, after I kind of went through the country, then kind of Dylan and rock, and then got into Americana. And I guess maybe they just slowly, started to come together in my mind also a little bit.
Yeah. Well, so you ended up, so I mean, you've got this background of of music, like you said, piano, violin, then getting into guitar, writing songs. You end up going to Washington University there in St. Louis, and I mean, I've heard you say you cut some records in college, but you're getting a CFA, you're getting a CPA. When you were in high school, when you were in college, what role did music play? Was it that thing that you said, this is just my sort of, outlet, hobby release?
Yeah, it was more of that. Me and a couple of guys sitting around playing, but we didn't. And we might have recorded it probably on the time probably on a cassette back in the day, but we really didn't do much with it. And then as various activities, business related, really started to take more of my time. It's just the music kind of ebbed and flowed. To me, the creative process is, and I get that some people say a job's a job, but when you're founding your own business, you're putting a lot of creativity and energy into that process too. So to me, maybe there's only so much to go around. So if I'm putting more into one, I might be putting less into the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you the guy though that showed up to like every party with an acoustic guitar? Were you that guy at college?
I was not that guy at college.
Good. Congratulations. Good. That's
dodge that bullet, right?
Well, so after school, you got in, like you said, you got into this. You sort of landed in this role of power plant valuing, selling, operating, first in natural gas, then in solar power. I mean, I feel like you probably weren't thinking really about that either when you first got into school. How does a guy get into that?
I actually, my first job out of grad school, actually, I did not enjoy very much. So I found an ad in a newspaper, and it said wanted power plant developer, good with numbers, fast learner, no experience. I said, well, I'm your guy. I don't even know what that means. So here I am. And I've been in it ever since.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now just two quick questions, because you've been doing a lot with solar energy there. Right now we're at like 4 to 5% of America's energy coming from solar. How much do you think that's going to grow in the next 10 years?
It's going to grow tremendously. At some point, almost all the electrons will be produced by wind or solar, and then the battery storage will help move those around. So when you want to turn on your air conditioner or charge your phone, the electrons will be there, even if the sun's not shining or the wind's not blowing. But there's not going to be much new build other than wind, solar, battery, and natural gas.
Nice.
And that's just the economics. It's not a political statement. It's good for the polar bears, but. Yeah.
Very, very true. Very well. I mean, you're 20 some years in that industry. I was just wondering what's some of the issues that you got to deal with if you're operating a solar panel site. What's the pain in the of operating it? What are the issues that you come across when you're trying to operate one?
One of the biggest challenges with solar is that it is sort of a political ping pong ball. And so a lot of solar panels are made in China, and a lot of other parts are made in China. So we get, not just my company, but companies in our industry at times get caught in between geopolitical initiatives that we just got our heads down and trying to do our job. So we kind of get shuttled back and forth depending on the political whims of the day.
I could see that. Yeah, definitely. Well, now you mentioned music. It didn't necessarily stop throughout all the companies. It was there. I mean, you took you released when I moved in back.
When I moved in, yeah.
Yeah, and that was back in 2008.
Yeah.
So music was there. It just didn't really have the front seat. But it seems like around 2022, was it a pandemic thing that got you back in, or was it just a transition of like, hey, I feel it, I need to go back to music?
It was more of the latter. So I had recorded a couple albums back in 2008, and then Peace Bomb came out a little thereafter. And then I've written the whole time just to get it out of my head. Because it's just gotta get it out. So I've been writing the whole time, but I haven't. I took a decade there where I didn't really put much effort at all into getting the music beyond just getting it out of my head onto a recording or onto paper or into the guitar. And then a couple years ago, I saw where my business was, and this current one that my brother and I founded we founded in 2012, and it's starting to hit a maturity level where it still needs my constant attention, but it's a large enough company now where I can take a step back at times and focus my brain elsewhere. So I think it's really the maturity of the current business and looking to think about what comes next potentially.
Nice. Well, now you released True Rendition 2022, then How to Bleed 2023, and now we've got Waiting to Be Seen here in 2024, which is I mean, it's a lot of music. Is that built up? Is that music that you were writing that entire time, sort of for yourself to get it out, and then you were like, okay, let's put this to wax?
Yeah, True Rendition was just going back through the old catalog, but more recently it's new write. There might be one or two songs that I have pulled in, but they're almost all new write at this point, including Waiting to Be Seen. It's a double album.
Yeah,
and then we'll be back in the studio this summer recording the next one. So.
Wow. Well, I mean that's a lot of material. Are you a guy when it comes to songwriting? Like, are you a regimen guy that's like, okay, I'm gonna write a song a week, or is it more of that sort of like you get inspired, you start setting down, and then 40 songs come out, or 5 songs come out, whatever it may be?
It's definitely the latter, and I know in Nashville there are some folks who are much more regimented. Let's show up at Wednesday at 10 a.m. and write a love duet, but that's not the way my mind works. And I've also seen some bands will just go in the studio for 3 weeks and spring our material and see what comes of it, and that works for some folks too. That process I think might actually be interesting. I've never gone through that one. But the more regimented one, I just don't know that will work with my mind very well.
Yeah. It seems to. I mean, those people are amazing to me because that talk about it's like a 9-to-5 job, and they just come in, and some of them are just. They're amazing at it. They come in and they write really good songs, and you're like, how do you do that uninspired? It doesn't seem like they're inspired at least, and they just come in and there we go. Okay, write it down.
Yeah, it's definitely a talent. It's not my particular talent, though.
Yeah. Well, now you mentioned it, Waiting to Be Seen, 23 songs. Why 2 parts? Why are you separating it?
It's coming out in 2 parts because it's a double album, and it's really written in chapters, like a series of vignettes or short stories. So it's really laid out with as a book in some regards. And the first half or the first album is a good stopping point as far as where the story is in its transition. So it kind of gets to the highlight of the first half of the story, and then the second part will tell the rest of the story.
Nice. Now, would you say there's a different feel between the 2 parts, or is it sort of the same continuity, sort of musically throughout?
It's not necessarily intentionally done, but the second part is a little more country and a little probably slower tempo, and the first part is a little more rock and raucous. And it makes sense with the story, and it's really about a meeting between 2 individuals, and the first part started that exciting part of being together, and then a falling out. A lot of excitement and then turmoil, and the second part is a little more reflective on what's happened here. Who am I? Who are we? And how does this turn out?
I think I went through and was checking out the songs. I think this would fall into the raucous, the more raucous song. But I like Carving Tree. That one. Yeah. That one stuck out. The guitar work on Carving Tree was great. This band
has been together now for pretty much all 3 of these recent albums, and we're getting pretty good at what we do in a couple of regards. One, they're just talented musicians to start with, but it really helps to have a good cohesiveness, ability to provide feedback to each other. This feels good to me. That sounds good to me. And sometimes that first time in the studio with the crew, you let everyone do their thing, and no one's really speaking up and saying, what if we tried it this way? Wouldn't that sound better that way? And
don't want to step on toes. Yeah.
Correct. But the music's better off if toes are getting stepped on every now and again.
Yeah. Well, now, you mentioned it. There's a good amount of musicians on this album. Who are some of the folks you've worked with on this album?
Josh Halper is my band leader and one of the producers on it. He and drummer Simon. These guys are largely road musicians, so they're out with Tommy Prine right now. My keyboardist Micah is with Margot Price. Tours with her, and then Cam's phenomenal. Adam on second guitar and steel guitar, but really phenomenal. So it's a great crew.
Yeah. You recorded it at Bomb Shelter Studio, the Bomb Shelter Studio there, and that was all 3 records were there. Obviously, you like it. What do you like recording about there?
It's sort of a dive bar of studios, and I'm a big fan of dive bars, and it's comfortable. It's like an old pair of jeans. It's not the fanciest place in town by any stretch, but it's very comfortable to be able to go in there and have a setting that is close. It's not spread out. And some studios are so spread out that my sound booths, I might not even be able to see the other musicians, for example. Yeah. I like to be able to see, everyone starting the groove, get it, it helps me get into the vibe. It helps everyone to kind of be closer together. And then, Drew Carroll, engineer there, so it's phenomenal. It really gets that sound really tight. So
now you record everything live? Everybody going at once, or?
Everyone going at once. Now we overdub. If we want to put down an additional guitar lick, and then the auxiliary percussion will be overdubbed. Sometimes you'll hear 2 key parts on a song, so that'll be Micah coming back in and laying down a second key. And then I'm on lead vocals, like for almost every album, the lead vocals, except with rare occasion, we'll throw out my scratch vocals and redo them.
Nice. Yeah, I know. I noticed that. You look at a lot of the artists that recorded there. There's a lot of Americana sort of folk. There's some string bands in there. One of the groups we had on the show, Hog Slop String Band, recorded there, and I know they're basically looking for like a microphone in the middle of the floor and recording that way. So it's like you said, gets that small ambiance in there. You get a good feeling for it.
Yeah, it has that exact vibe to it.
Yeah. Well, now you mentioned it before. You got that sort of vibe of classic country. You got that vibe of classic rock flair. If a listener's thinking about giving it a listen, they want to, they want to come into this new album. They want to see Waitin to Be Seen, or they want to hear Waitin to Be Seen. Who would you tell them in the sounds like category? Who would you put there?
Well, I would never say it's definitely not the Rolling Stones. I think that's a death knell if anyone ever says that. So definitely not that. It really has some of the sound to it would be a little bit Townsy. It does have some of the country ones would be more of the Willie Will and Merle, that old time. And then the rock is sort of, just the rock sound that I usually try to capture would be whatever you imagine rock sounds like about 2 a.m. in a garage in the 1970s. So,
that's my favorite rock right there.
Yeah, mine too.
I catch a little, obviously it's gonna go in there. The play off of guitar and off of vocals. There's a little Dylan that you see float in there, for sure. Well, now I always love to ask this question, because you never want to ask an artist, obviously, what's your favorite song on the album, because you wrote them all, so it's impossible to say. But if I'm going into part 1 of Waiting to Be Seen, and I tell you I've got time for one song, I'm like, I got time for one song, and that's going to give me the taste of this album, of this part of the album. What song are you going to tell me to listen to there that you feel like encapsulates the vibe? It's a good representation.
Already Broke.
Already Broke.
Yeah,
nice.
And that song it's the kind of the first song after the breakup, and so it kind of captures it's lyrically and from a tone and a feeling perspective of just right after all the excitement, and hey, it basically says I ain't gonna break, I'm already broke. So and the sound on it is a little bit between country and rock, so from that perspective it kind of captures the full sound of the album.
Love it. Well, listeners, bad news. I have special access to it, so I can already hear it. You're going to have to wait until August 16th. But Chris, we are up against a break, man. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us today.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Listeners, make sure you keep a lookout for Waitin' to Be Seen. It's coming out August 16th. Right now, let's take a listen to the single that's already out there, Darlin' Me, right here on the Doc G Show. And we are back here on the Doc G Show. You just heard Chris Bullinger, and you just heard me talking to Chris. Man, interesting dude, Mike.
Yeah.
Interesting dude. Going into the energy sector and being successful. I always find that wild, you know? You're so successful at something, and then you're like, you know what? Why not try something else? I'm going to go into music. You know? That's wild. That is good for him. You know?
That's cool.
Yeah, and it's just I guess they sort of run themselves. I was interested to ask him. I didn't want to ask too much about it, but I was interested to ask him, like, you know, once you get a solar panel farm going, how much do you have to do with that? You know?
Yeah, it's a good question.
What's going on in there?
Yeah.
Like, do panels break down? Do you have to go in there? Do they get too hot? Do birds crap on them too much and you got to go out there and clean them off? Like, or does it just basically run itself and you just forget about it for years, you know? I feel like it's pretty hands-off. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you don't have to, I don't know.
But, you know, he switched gears and now the dude's just making albums left and right. 3 albums, 3 years. Absolutely insane. I couldn't. I mean, good Lord. It's like 50 songs in 3 years.
Yeah.
I haven't written
Prolific.
a single song in 39 years.
Yeah.
It's taken me a while. But, Mike, we need to move on to the fastest growing segment in the world.
Mike C, top 3.
That is correct, Mike. You chose the topic of 3 favorite shoes that are neither a Jordan nor Nike, which really ties my hands because that's basically all of my shoes. So very difficult, but I still came up with a good number. I have honorable mentions. Do you have honorable mentions?
Oh yeah, I got a couple. I got a few.
Okay, here's my honorable. I'll go first with my honorable mentions.
Okay.
First, Allen Iverson, The Answers. They're not bad, you know? Nice Reebok shoe. I enjoy The Answers. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Next one, the Adidas Superstars. Just the classics.
Oh, yeah.
The 3 stripes,
sure.
you know? The shell toes. They're always good, you know? They were really hot there for, I want to say, it's like when I was like in 5th or 6th grade. Man. Everybody was rocking those.
With when for me it was when Limp Bizkit was rocking.
Yeah. Now for me, I zagged when everybody zigged there. I went with the Nike Cortezes when everybody was wearing those Superstars. Because I'm a slave to a brand, man. And I was
that
like,
was
Nike.
Another popular shoe. Yeah.
Oh, Nike Cortezes are there, man. They're there. Then I've got the Adidas Crazy 8s. The Kobe's.
Kobe's, yeah.
I like those, you know. I made fun of them when they came out because, again, I was a Nike man. So I was like, stupid. Yeah. Why'd he go with Adidas? But they look good. They're nice. Well, yeah. They're very. I like the bubble sort of styling that they have on them, you know. Fila Grant Hills. Really like the Fila Grant Hills when he first came out his rookie year. Those were beautiful. I would say this is going to be your number one. You don't have to have any tells. But the Shaqnosis, that's on my honorable mentions. There you go. Those are my honorable mentions, Mike. What are your honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. I'm going to get a little flack for this one, but Yeezy Boosts, the 350s. Those 350s.
I hate to tell you, Mike, those have been canceled.
Yes! I know. They were canceled, but man, a few years ago, those were, and they still are, very comfortable shoes.
See, that's what everybody says about Yeezys. They're so comfortable. Honestly, I don't give
so
it.
Comfy.
You know, like when I'm getting a pair of shoes, I'm all looks. It could ruin my feet, and I'm like, but does it look cool? Like, and that's why I don't get pretty much all of the Yeezys, because they look stupid. They look really stupid. Yeah. And anybody that likes Yeezys, I apologize, but they look stupid. Anyways, Mike, honorable mentions. Continue.
Yeezy Boosts. A couple Vans. There's two. The Vans Authentics.
Okay.
I actually had to look these up because I was like, what Vans shoes am I talking about? Yeah. The Vans Authentics, which are, they have a thinner sole on them, so they're not as big of a sole.
Yeah.
And then also the Vans Era, or the Vans U Era. Those are also great. They just, both of those shoes, basically, if you can imagine Vans without the Vans logo.
Yeah.
The Adidas XR1.
Okay.
And lastly, I'm gonna go with the Cole Haan Lunars. So I guess they're kind of technically a little Nike in there, but Cole Haan collaborated with the Lunar, like how Nike has the Lunar, but Cole Haan. Yeah. Anyways, great shoes.
Okay. I'm gonna have to look into those. I have no idea about
George
those.
Wallace actually complimented my Cole Haan Lunars. He's like, I've got every single version of that shoe.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, they're good shoes. Well, they're nice. They're nice looking shoes, but then they also have a little bit of,
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I like it.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, Mike, let's go to our top three here. My number three, real simple. Nothing fancy here. Low top Converse Chuck Taylors.
Yeah.
I love the Chucks, man.
Yeah.
I love the Chucks. They're my go-to. Not the go-to, but there was a long time they were my go-to. They just, they pop off to me. Now, some people really like the high tops. I'm not a high top guy.
Me neither.
I think you got to have a real unique leg for the high tops to look normal.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it looks like a post in the ground, and I think it looks stupid. But if you got a good-looking leg, you can pull off those high tops. But otherwise, no. But I still have a pair of high tops or low tops now. I got a pair right in the closet over there. I'll pull them out every now and then.
The black, are they the black and white?
They're the all white.
What color?
Just all white.
I think so I was going to say, I think the all white Chuck Taylors, that's the only version of that shoe I would wear. Low all white Chuck Taylors. I think those look.
I've got an all white, and I've also got the blacks with the white rims. The sort of classics.
Yeah, the classics.
Mike, your number three.
My number three is gonna be the Adidas Ultra Boost, just the running shoe. Adidas, man, I don't know what they did with their shoes, but they are great. Ultra Boosts are awesome running shoes. I can run and I can wear them for long periods of time without my feet hurting. And also, I climbed a mountain in Ultra Boost. Like I switched from where I had when we first started doing these like kind of like mountain climbs.
Right.
I was using like Timberland, like the trail shoes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, those shoes would kill my feet. They killed my feet, Doc G.
Yeah.
So I switched to just using the Ultra Boost, and then they have an Ultra Boost that is it's like a hiking shoe. Oh my God, perfect. Yeah.
I do wonder sometimes, when you put on some of those hiking boots, you're like, what are other people doing in these things? Like, why do you need this much protection for your foot? Like, are you just swinging this thing around? Like, just like, it doesn't matter. I can hit all these. It's fine. I'll walk on these spikes. I've got these boots. Like, it's just like, it's like you don't need that much. It's like you said, you can wear a running shoe and it just feels way, way more comfortable, man. Like,
so much better.
You went for utility on your list, Mike. I did not go for utility. And the only
not really. No, not all my shoes are.
Okay. My number 2, Reebok above the rim pumps.
Okay.
It's just, it's iconic, Mike. It's an iconic early 90s. I didn't have them. But
Me neither.
I got to be honest, I was a little envious when a person had that little basketball on the tongue, and I was like, "Oh, look at that
basketball!
Oh, it pumps up. That is so cool. Like it just, it's a pretty dope shoe.
For sure.
I could buy a pair right now. They are still available, but you know what? I'm not too interested.
They're hard to look. It's hard to pull those off.
Very hard to pull off. Yeah.
It's hard
Unless
to pull
you're going
off.
to a 90s party, you're not looking cool in those. That's for sure.
No.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Mike, your number 2.
My number 2, the Adidas NMD R1. That's my second, like, I guess it is kind of a utility shoe, but I can wear that shoe for hours, and I wear it probably the most out of all my shoes.
I like
whatever that boost material is, it's from space. It's amazing, actually. I just can't. That's my.
It's made out of Saturn gases, everybody. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's like NASA technology in a shoe or something. I don't know. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
My God.
It's like you're walking in low gravity.
Fun fact, one of my friends, Mike, worked, that was their first job, was working at the Adidas factory in Germany. They're German, and that was their first job. And they actually know Adi, they knew the owner. Yeah,
I didn't even know that was his name.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That makes sense.
Crazy. Mike, my number 1.
Yes.
Reebok Kamikaze 2s.
Yeah, the Sean Kemps.
Yeah. And not the ones. The ones were okay. The Kamikaze ones were meh. But the 2s with their zigzaggy lines, oh man, that is pure 90s right there with the Kamikaze 2s. Those are that's just a hot shoe right there. Hot shoe.
Those are sick. What was the Kamikaze one? What was
you'll remember it slightly. You'll see it and be like, oh yeah, okay. I sort of remember it.
Yeah, the Kamikaze 2s. That's where I was at.
That's
for sure.
That's the one, man. Mike, your number 1.
My number 1, of course, you called it, Doc G, the Reebok Shacknosis.
Yeah.
Yes, that's my number 1.
Looks like a earthquake happening. The radar system of an earthquake, of a bullseye coming out. It's it's nice. I like them. I do like them a lot. They almost made the number 3. I put the pumps on my list just because they were so like groundbreaking. They were so different.
For sure. They were.
But like pure looks, I would have put the Shacknosis on there instead. Because they were pretty dope. And then
they were a cool shoe.
Then he went off and made his own shoe that was goofy. So
not like no other shoe.
Not nearly the Shacknosis. No. All right, Mike. What do we got for next week?
Next week, how about top 3 skyscrapers that are not buildings? We did buildings. What about skyscrapers that are not buildings?
Mike, you're like movie creators just coming back for sequel.
Yeah, pretty much. I got some sequels.
We're changing this a little bit. All right, we're gonna look at like things like the Tokyo Tower, things like that.
All those things.
Okay.
Yeah, all those things.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. We're looking at towers, folks. Things that are not actually buildings here.
And then that should cover all of the skyscraper tall structure stuff.
Because you excluded.
We might come up with a top 3 statues.
Yeah, I could do a statues. That is true. There's some.
You want to do top 3 statues?
Do statues.
Say what?
I'd have to look into statues. Yeah, let's do statues.
Okay, let's do statues.
Top 3
statues.
favorite statues.
All right, cool. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to look into statues. There's a lot of varieties out there.
There's a lot of good statues.
Let's just totally get the. I can just see like totally getting our whole show canceled if we just come on and we're just like, well, here are my favorite Confederate statues. Oh, just 3 different statues of Robert E. Lee and everyone. What the? What's wrong with this? Oh, come on. Anyways, okay, top three favorite statues. Mike, it's time to move on to the old last birthday suits here.
Yeah.
I have very low faith in either of these. It might be as 0 for 3, honestly. And I mean, I try to find some. It was just
okay.
May 22nd. It's a tough one. Do you want the author or the actor?
Actor.
Okay, this is an actor that you're probably not going to know because it's a very old actor. Born on May 22nd, 1907 in Dorking, England. At a young age, our birthday suit wearer loved acting. He acted in the he acted in Julius Caesar, and he played Brutus and wowed the crowd. He then went on to Central School of Speech Training and Dramatic Art. After school, he went to the Birmingham Repertory Company. In 1931, he received a 2-film contract and moved to Hollywood. His first movie was Friends and Lovers. He went back to theater in England for several years. Then in 1938, he moved back to Hollywood, filmed Wuthering Heights. He then was in Alfred Hitchcock's Rebecca, and then he played in Pride and Prejudice. After World War II, he played in more films, like 1960's Spartacus. Then in 1965, he starred in Othello. Then in 1972, Sleuth. He played in several massive TV movies, like 1977's Jesus of Nazareth, 1976's Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, and 1983's King Lear. Our birthday suit wearer won 4 Academy Awards, 5 Emmy Awards, 3 Golden Globes, and had multiple honorary doctorates. He had a Hollywood star on the Walk of Fame in 1960. Jeez. He's often considered one of the greatest actors of his generation. Name that birthday suit wearer.
Yeah, no idea, Doc G.
I'll give you the initials. Don't think it's going to help. L.O.
No.
I know you know the name, and that's why I chose it, even though I didn't think you might know it. But Laurence Olivier.
Yeah, I vaguely know the name. Laurence Olivier. Yeah.
Mike's like, no, that doesn't nothing at all. No. Oh well,
yeah.
He was a fantastic actor. Known, go back, Mike. Watch some super classics.
I probably know his face.
Just like Lifeguard. We'll go back and watch Spartacus together this summer.
I want to watch some old movie though. The old shows and old movies, yeah, they're fun to watch. I'm down.
They're fun to watch because most of the time you don't know what half of what they're doing is. You're like, wait, that was a joke? Oh, that was a joke. Okay, cool. All right, that
was super offensive.
Yeah,
wow, they could do that back then.
Yeah. Okay, Mike. Here is the 3rd birthday suit. Born in Edinburgh, Scotland, on May 22nd, 1859.
Girl, come on!
Our birthday suit wearer went to the University of Edinburgh Medical School for 4 years. While studying to be a physician, he started to write short stories. His first published piece of fiction was in 1879. That was the same year he also published his first medical piece in the British Medical Journal. He completed his medical degree in 1885. Once he opened his practice, he had a hard time getting patients, so he started writing more fiction. In 1886, he worked on a detective character named Sherlock Holmes, who worked with Dr. Watson. Our birthday suit wearer ultimately wrote 56 short stories and 4 novels with Sherlock Holmes. The Sherlock Holmes character and the stories are considered the base of the genre crime fiction. Side note, this is a really weird one about this guy. He was a judge in the very first bodybuilding competition in 1901. Yeah. Name that birthday suit wearer.
Maybe initials.
Well, he is a sir. He has the sir title because he was knighted. But it's a three name name. ACD. Sir ACD.
Nah.
Okay, I bet you'll have heard this name. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Yeah.
There we go. Creator of Sherlock Holmes. Mike, it was a tough hit. Not going to lie to you. It's a real tough hit. That was an 0 for 3. That was an 0 for 3. I don't know. We haven't had an 0 for in a while. But
yeah, no, I haven't had one of those in a while.
I'm going to try to stack the deck for next week. We're going to try to find some really good birthdays. Just going to try to find some, absolute bangers.
Please, Michael Jordan, have a birthday. No, he doesn't
Sorry.
have a birthday. No, he's not a me.
Yeah. Mike, we are going to have to wrap it up for this week, but we have some fantastic guests. Oh, my goodness, the guests. Oh, man. We have got returning guest, Mike, who just celebrated a birthday a couple of weeks ago, if you do remember. Joe Bonamassa is coming on the show. Can't wait to talk to him. Yes! We also have the fantastic Braxton Cook coming on the show. Can't wait to talk to him. But, Mike, we need to wrap it up. I have been your host, Doc G. With me, as always, the one, the only, Mikey Maximus, the Furnicus, Charette.
Always a pleasure, Doc G. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And until next week, zip it up and zip it out.
Zippity-doo-dah.